episode number 53.
I remember my client called, I flew home for a funeral, for my aunt's funeral. And my client called me the next day and started yelling at me about some number on a spreadsheet or something. And so it was, from the outside, it looked like I had this great career. My parents were so happy. I was this consultant. And from the inside, something just didn't fit. And I knew I wanted to be a mom someday. And I knew that was the plan. And I just didn't see myself working these long hours in a cubicle, never seeing my child. So I knew something needed to change.
Hi, you're listening to the Careers Beyond Motherhood podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help working mums like you to thrive in your careers and in motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversations with awesome women to help reduce the struggle in your juggle.
Time for say, Mummy.
Hello, and welcome to the show. Happy New Year. It's the first episode of 2019, and I am super excited that you've decided to spend some time with me today. Before we kick off the show and the year worth of podcasts, I wanted to share something really, really awesome with you. So, it's January. It's that time of year where people are reflecting, are thinking about what they want to do in the coming year, are thinking about changes that they want to make. And for some, they may be thinking about returning to work, either after maternity leave or after a career break. And thinking about that transition back after you've been on maternity leave can be quite daunting. And often I hear from clients that I work with and people that I speak to that figuring out how they're going to do the juggle and do the juggle well is a challenge for many people. And because of that, I decided to create a course, and I created this course over a year ago now, and it's called the Smooth Return course. And it is a resource that I wish I had when I was on maternity leave with my son. When I was thinking about going back to my corporate lawyer job, I was really wondering how I would make it work, what I needed to do, how I could prepare myself. And there wasn't really much in the way of resources that I felt were helpful. So that led me to creating the Smooth Return course, and it is an awesome step-by-step guide that takes you through all that you need to think about, all that you need to do, all that you need to prepare so that you can really set yourself up for success as a working mum or working parent. So I am going to be opening the doors for 72 hours, and you might be thinking, why 72 hours? Well, I am heading on a family trip to Rome, and I get back and I'm here for 72 hours, and then I head off to Miami. So I am going to be opening the cart during those 3 days so that people can join. And when I come back, we kick off in February, at the beginning of February. So if you're interested, go over to lightboxcoaching.com/VIP waitlist and put your name down. And as soon as enrollment opens, you will be the first to know. Okay, so today's show, we are speaking to an amazing guest. She is somebody that I really admire. And the reason why I admire her is because she really went for her goals. She really committed to her goals and made it happen. So she went from being a management consultant to becoming an entrepreneur and running her own business and having the flexibility that she truly, really desired. And she is somebody who shows her journey, and she shows the ins, the outs, the background, and how it's not an overnight success. So often when you look around, especially in the online space, you can often feel like people are just making lots of money really quickly, that their business becomes really successful really quickly. But what I love about our guest is that she talks about the journey. She talks about what it took for her to transition out of her full-time job into the lifestyle that she really wanted to lead, and she talks about how long it took, and she's just really open and transparent. So I am super excited for you to hear from Anna Runyan, who is the CEO and founder of Classy Career Girl. She is absolutely awesome. So without further ado, I know you guys are going to get some great insights from her, so I'm going to jump into my conversation with Anna.
Hi, Anna. It is so awesome to have you here. I'm super, super excited to interview you today. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a bit about you? Yeah, so my name is Anna Runyan, and I started a blog way back in 2010 called classycareergirl.com, and turned that blog into my business. So today our whole focus at Classy Career Girl is helping women find career fulfillment. So we run 2 membership sites. One is for women who are job searching, trying to figure out what they should do with their life and what they should be when they grow up. And then our other membership site is called Corporate Rescue Plan. And that's for women who want to ditch their day jobs, transition into entrepreneurship, and giving them the step-by-step to make it happen. Since this conversation is about motherhood, I am a mom. I have a 4-year-old daughter. I have another one on the way. I'm due in August. Not sure when this is going to air, but I probably will have 2 maybe by the time this airs. So I work with my husband as well. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
There's so much I want to ask you about. So for those of you that don't know, Anna is one of my business mentors and she's absolutely awesome. And her journey and her story is really interesting in terms of how she's transitioned from her pre-baby career to then launching and growing her successful business. So can you tell us a bit about what life looked like before you were a mum and what your career looked like and what you did then?
Yeah, so I spent 8 years at Booz Allen Hamilton, which is a government consulting company. It was very corporate. I wore suits to work every single day. I was in a cubicle and I did consulting. So I had a client. It was very formal. Working for the government was also very, very formal. I was doing finance and project management. So nothing like what I do today. But I realized through that I didn't really like what I was doing. I didn't really like finance, but I really liked parts of my job. I really liked, teaching and training and mentoring others. And so I realized I need to make this my full-time thing. And it was very stressful. I got calls in the evenings from my clients. Weekends, I remember there was Super Bowl was going on one time and my client called when I was having a family day. I remember my client called, I flew home for a funeral, for my aunt's funeral, and my client called me the next day and started yelling at me about some number on a spreadsheet or something. And so it was, from the outside, it looked like I had this great career. My parents were so happy. I was this consultant and from the inside, something just didn't fit. And I knew I wanted to be a mom someday. And I knew that was the plan. And I just didn't see myself working these long hours in a cubicle, never seeing my child. So I knew something needed to change.
That's so awesome, because I think for a lot of people, they often feel stuck. They feel as though, well, this is what I've been doing and this is what people see me as and this is what I should do. So I can totally relate because I qualified and trained as a lawyer. And so when I was thinking, this is great, but I feel like I should be doing something else, something more fulfilling. Yeah. It was really hard because my whole identity was wrapped up in being a lawyer. And if I was to say I'm not going to be a lawyer anymore, then it's kind of, oh, okay, what are people going to think?
Then what?
Yeah, and then what? And I think it's something that a lot of people face. So it's inspiring to hear you talk about the fact that even though everyone else was saying, this is a great job and this is what you should be doing, you knew that it wasn't right for you in terms of what your goals were with starting a family. So
yeah, I was getting promoted. I was getting raises. I was doing really well. Even my coworkers and boss would have been completely surprised that I wasn't happy in what I was doing. So yeah, it's just something in your gut that this isn't the long-term thing. It's great for now. It's a paycheck, and but it wasn't the long-term thing that I knew I wanted to have.
Yeah. And so what did the transition look like for you? So did you made the transition before you became a mom, but you kind of did it before because you were preparing for that time when you were going to become a mom and you knew what you wanted life to look like?
Yeah, I prepared. I worked my side hustle for many, many years. And part of it was I was struggling with infertility. At that time, I had 2 miscarriages. And so for me, it was part of my way of coping with a lot of personal stuff that was happening in my life. And I knew my vision was having my own business, being able to be near my kids when I had them someday, because I knew I was going to have kids somehow. I just wasn't working at the time. But, I knew that it would pan out. I knew that I was going to make it happen somehow, some way, even if we had to adopt. So I just knew that was my vision. And so that just pushed me through. And I know it's tough and I know it's hard and I know I barely had any time either, but I just knew that was my vision. I think that's why it's so important to have that vision journal, that vision board that you're constantly looking at for your future. And then my transition, I went part-time first. After my second miscarriage, I walked into my boss's office and I said, I can't do this anymore. I was too stressed out, and who knows if stress had anything to do with it. But that was like my breaking point. I was just like, I'm done. I need to go part-time. And at that time I had worked there for 6 years. And so they didn't want me to leave at all. And so they were very supportive. They were very nice. I was leading a team. Like, they needed me. My clients needed me. No one else knew how to do what I was doing because I was working my butt off and stressing myself out. And they said, yes, I could go part-time. They let me work from home. And so that was the start of my transition. I was able to have more time to focus on building my business. I got another side job as a professor and just started doing more what I was happy doing. Yeah. And, that's when I got pregnant with my daughter, Mila, is when I just started like letting go of the stuff that wasn't working in my life and was making me unhappy and stressed. And I just started doing more of business stuff, more teaching and training and mentoring. And obviously my business grew because I had more time to focus on it, but I was also doing more of my passion as well. So I was happier. I had more time to work out and like more time to read and like just more time for self-care and me. So I worked part-time, and then I was planning to quit my day job. Like, I had a conversation with with John, my husband. I was planning to quit my day job, and then we found out that I was pregnant. And so everything changed then, because I didn't want to quit while I was pregnant and I was terribly sick. And so it was like my business it was going up, and then I got pregnant and morning sickness happened, and like my business kind of tanked a little bit. And I was like, now's not the time to quit. I lost all focus in my brain. And so we kind of tabled that for a little while. And then when I got my energy back, towards the later trimesters, that's when we kind of made a plan that I would take maternity leave. And after maternity leave, that's when I would officially quit my job. So that's when I called up my boss. My daughter was, I think, 6 weeks old, because I only had 6 weeks. When I was working part-time, I only had 6 weeks, and I could not imagine going back to work. So at that time, called up my boss, and that's when it became official as a full-time entrepreneur.
Wow, that's so awesome. I can totally relate to that. When you're so ambitious when you're pregnant, or before you get pregnant, you're going to get so much done, and then your body's just like, no, it's just not happening. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I had all these plans of what I was going to do, and some days, like, literally I'd open my laptop and my eyes would just close, and my body's like, no, you're building a leg today, you just need to focus on that, like, forget about the work.
It's so funny you say this, because I was literally taking a nap like an hour before this, because I'm 8 months pregnant right now. So I'm like, it's just like the energy is slowly going away from me.
Yeah, when you get to that stage, you're just like, okay, it's time. I'm winding down now. We're almost there. But yeah, it's great that you then took the time that you needed. But then after maternity, then you said, okay, right, now is the time. So what were some of the challenges that you faced? So you went from working full time to then part time to then, being fully in your business. But what were some of the challenges you faced with that? Because some people listening might be thinking, I'd love to start my own business, but I just either don't know where to start, or I feel like it's just a huge task. How would I even do it? So can you share some of your challenges and how you overcame?
Yeah, a big one was time management for me, and like trying to do it all. Like when I had my daughter, I thought I could be everything to her, take care of her. My husband was still working his full-time job at the time. We didn't have money for childcare or anything like that. So it was me, childcare, as well as growing a business, as well as cooking and cleaning, and thinking that I could do it all. And I'll never forget, I went to this event where there were other entrepreneurs, and I literally had a breakdown because I was like pumping in the hotel room, and my daughter was like there with my mom. And I was like, I was out of control, like trying to make everything happen. And they were like, well, do you have a working schedule? And I was like, a schedule? Like, I didn't even have like a schedule of when I would work and when I would do things during the day. I was just like trying to do everything. And so that was a big thing. Like I came home and I talked to John and we figured out like a schedule that I would have. And that's when he realized he was going to quit his day job as well to help us grow the business. But that was a big one. Time management, like really putting boundaries on like your focus time, like the time that you need to grow your business or work on your career, and not letting anything get in the way of that is really, really important. That's like the biggest one that I learned.
Yeah, I think that's really important because it's so easy for there not to be those boundaries, even the other side. So you might be putting time and energy into your career or into your business, but then not having the time to do the other things that are important. So I'm guilty of that. It's like, okay, I just need to do this one thing in the business. And it's like, okay, there's a pile of washing, there's other things, the house still needs to be maintained, the kids still need me. So realizing that it's important to put boundaries in every aspect of your life so that things can run on the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, asking for help is important for sure to do.
Yeah. And so with the business, I am a happy member of Corporate Rescue Plan, which is one of your membership sites. And it's great that you give people kind of a step-by-step. So could you just share with the basics? So once you figured out your time management, like what are the things that you should focus on first if you were growing a business?
Yeah, time management is number one. That's where we start. We have 5 different phases. And so that's where we start in phase 1, figuring out your time management, figuring out like your why, your vision. We talk a lot about that, putting together your plan for the next 90 days. And then if you really want to start a business, one thing a lot of people miss is like the market research part and really figuring out who your ideal client is, what their frustrations are, what their challenges are. I spent a lot of time not just doing surveys, but also just talking with my ideal clients and doing free sessions with them, just picking their brain, you want to know your client inside and out, and you want to know things that they are thinking, even if they're not even telling you, because then you can start speaking their language when you're doing a video, when you're doing an email, or, anything that you're doing, you can start really speaking to them. And then you basically start creating a product or service that solves their problem because you know their problem inside and out. Or you create an experience that they're going to pay for. And so that's like the biggest thing. And once you figure that out, then it's moving into creating your business plan, figuring out, I always talk about like the one social media platform that you need to be on. You don't need to be everywhere, but just figuring out like that one that your ideal clients are mostly on all the time. And that way you can start going into the next phase, which is really building your audience and finding your people, collecting your people into, I love Facebook groups. I have probably too many Facebook groups that I host and run right now. I was thinking but I love it because it's such a great way to build a relationship with your prospective audience. Like before they buy, they can get to know you, they can get to like you and trust you. And then the sale is just so simple because you're not really selling. They're like, oh, I like her. I trust her. She knows what she's talking about. And then they join, whatever it is that you're selling. And it's just, to me, it takes like the hard part out of selling when you have that Facebook group and you can start helping and surveying them before you start selling. It's not like we've all been to networking events where the people are passing their business cards out, trying to get a sale. And so instead it's like, let me help you. Janine, like, I don't know how many times, you interacted either with my blog posts or my podcasts or, something free that I gave out before you actually joined Corporate Rescue Plan. And that's like the most important thing in like building your audience. Yeah. And then it just goes from there. There's so much more we can talk about as far as like advertising and, growing and scaling and all that stuff. But those are the basics for someone who really wants to start a business.
Yeah. And those are awesome points to think about and the steps to take. And I think that one of the things that you really need to think about is having a plan, because often you go into things without the plan and just do things that you think you should be doing. And that can cause you to just be blowing in the wind. 1 minute you're listening to one person, the next minute you're listening to someone else, and then you can be spinning your wheels and not making progress. So really sitting down and saying, okay, what is my plan of action? What am I going to do first, second, third? And where am I trying to get to is important when it comes to building a business, but also in your career. So if you have plans to make a
career shift or do something within your current track, you still need to have a plan, like what you're going to do and how you're going to execute it. So I think that's really important. So tell me now, what does life look like for you with your running your business and being a mum? What is the balance ahead and what your career looks like after motherhood? So tell us what yours looks like and what family life's like as well.
Every day is very different, very, very different. Normally during the school year, my daughter is in preschool. And so she has school Tuesday, Thursday, and we moved actually closer to her school so we can walk her to school. So while she's in school, that's when John and I work. That's like, she's only in school a couple days a week. And so that's when we get to work. And my mom is close by, fortunately. So she'll watch Mila one day a week, usually about one day a week. And so that's when John and we're kind of like the leadership team. And so that's when we get together and we go through and we discuss things. But most of the other time, like we're flip-flopping. So some days I'll watch Mila and we'll go to the park or we'll go to the library or, we'll have a whole day together while John gets time to work. Or many times, like yesterday, I knew I had a lot of work to do yesterday morning. So I woke up before my daughter woke up at 5:30 and got out of here as quickly as I could to go to Starbucks. And that gave me some time. And then John watched her in the morning. And so now we're in like summer camp time. So you have to be flexible. That's like the biggest thing I learned is being flexible and changing the schedule. But for us, it's so much more important to spend time with her rather than like giving her someone else to watch. So that was kind of like, family is obviously a huge priority of mine. And that's why John quit his job too, because he wasn't very happy in his role either. And so he realized like, okay, my whole paycheck is going to go to daycare, having someone else take care of our daughter, or I'm just going to quit my job, help us grow this business. And then he's more involved with my daughter like every day as well. And so we flip-flop depending on what's going on in the business. And, sometimes he'll have stuff that he needs to work on because he does all the operations and advertising stuff. And then I'll have like an easier week. And so I'll take Mila and do more stuff with her. But every day is different. We work a lot at night. So after she goes to bed, which is getting later and later, but when she goes to bed, we do a lot of work then too. We try and relax and, not work too hard, but some times of the year it's very busy for us. And then other times it's less busy. So that's kind of, we try and take weekends off, but that's kind of, there's no typical day. It's just kind of, it's fun. This is how I want this. I want this like work day. This is like my ideal work day.
Yeah. And it's awesome because you have the control and the autonomy. And so you're able to, even if you are working into the night or you are working on weekends, it's your choice. Like you're able to, you haven't got someone saying to you, you must do this now. You kind of set your timetable, which is awesome. How old is your daughter?
She's 4 right now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but everything is going to change in like in a couple weeks now. Who knows when the baby's going to come? So ask me in a couple weeks.
But you have to readjust when another little person comes in. It's a whole nother ball game.
I know. And I have had 4 years where I forgot all that of everything that happens. But I love it because if we need to take a day off, like tomorrow we're going to do our maternity photos. And so tomorrow is basically a non-work day, and so we can kind of schedule things like that, where normally if you were working a full-time job, you'd have to do that like on a Saturday, Sunday, but we can kind of do that in the middle of the afternoon and kind of schedule important stuff like that around what we need to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what advice would you give to somebody who's in the position now where they're feeling like they want this kind of autonomy and they want to build a career which allows them to have that time with their family? What advice would you give to them in terms of getting started?
I think, first of all, it's listening to stuff like this where you hear other people who've done it. I know that for me, like I listened to so many podcasts, listening to other entrepreneurs who had quit their day jobs too, because it like gives you that motivation that you can do it as well. The vision board is really important. The vision journal. I literally looked at my vision journal like while I was at my day job, and every morning and every night, like I just knew that's where I was headed, and I made that commitment. And I also kind of made a commitment not to when I woke up in the morning, I gave myself that first hour to work on my business rather than like trying to get out the door and go work on my company's goals. Like I wanted to work on my own goals first. And so I think that's really important, is like finding your best time, making sure you're devoting that to your business. Maybe it's waking up really early before your kids are up. There's always time. If something's important, there's always time to make the most of it. And then it's getting around other entrepreneurs. It's sharing ideas and getting feedback from others. I know my parents were not in full support of me quitting my day job. They didn't actually care when I quit, but then when John quit, they were like, "Oh no, what the heck is happening?" And like my dad said, the internet's going to break. Like he didn't understand my business, which is run mostly online. So he was worried about the internet breaking, and then he was worried about our marriage. Like he didn't think our marriage could handle a business and a kid. And, you know, it's all these things that go in your head, and you have to just know that you're capable and be confident in yourself and what you can do. You can't let it affect you. And you have to be around. I mean, that's why we have our membership community, because it's a bunch of entrepreneurs who can help support and encourage others, because you might not be getting it outside. You know, you might not be getting it in your house. You might not be getting it from your family. They're going to think you're crazy. It's just going to happen. Why would you quit a secure day job when you were making 6 figures, you know, and getting paid every 2 weeks, and you had benefits and you had a 401k? Like, why would you quit that? Like, a lot of people don't understand us where like, I like this. I think it's even more secure to be in charge of my future and to be in charge of my income. I know there was like a couple years before I officially quit, there was a mom in my company, and she had twins. And a couple months after she had twins, she got fired. And obviously, I mean, I hope it had nothing to do with it. I'd never talked to her about it. But I'll always remember, because there weren't many women at my company, and because it was mostly male dominated. And so seeing that happen to a woman, I was like, oh my goodness, like that could happen to me, just becoming a mom and then getting fired. And there was just, to me, that wasn't a secure place to be. And so now I'm a little crazy. We have a very non-traditional work life, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Like the flexibility that we have, the balance that we have, you know, being able to walk our daughter to school, pick her up, go to the park, just be there for whatever comes up is, you know, and especially now with baby number 2, I can't imagine not having this, you know, this work, because I can kind of put a little bit of a pause on a lot of my stuff. We just had a big launch, and now I can kind of slow down a little bit, prepare for baby, have a slower second half of the year, and it's not going to affect our finances.
It's just so awesome. I think what you said about surrounding yourself with people that are doing similar things to what you want to do is so important, because like you said, if you see other people doing it, you can say it's totally possible. If they can do it, I can do it. Exactly. And so I think that is really important. And I always talk about the importance of network and having a solid network that you can draw on when you need to, and that you can pour into as well. So I love to share inspirational quotes, and because I like them myself, or like mantras, inspirational quotes, sayings. So do you have one that you'd like to share with everybody that you go to, or that you refer other people to?
I have one that's very applicable to our conversation.
Okay.
And it was one that really helped me in that first year of motherhood. And it was, and it's, "You can complete a project by dropping it," by Arianna Huffington. She wrote that book, Thrive. I read that in that first year of becoming a mom. And for me, that was like, even before I had my daughter, I started dropping things like crazy. And I am now too. Like becoming a mom just helps me prioritize so much of like what is important, what's not important. Because before, I was literally doing way too many things. And I had a membership site then, and it wasn't growing, and it was plateauing. And I just knew that I would have kept it going if I didn't become a mom, but it wasn't the right fit for me at that time. So I just dropped it. You know, I was doing a lot of speaking at corporations. I was doing a lot of networking events. Like every week I was going to like 3 networking events, and I was just so involved in like the community. And then becoming a mom, like, okay, I can't do that anymore. I can't just leave my daughter and go to a networking event. And so I think learning that of just It's okay to say no. It's okay to drop some things and to focus on like what you're really good at, or to focus on your child for a while. Like that's what we need to do in certain times of growing our careers and growing our businesses. And then it makes it a lot easier to focus on like one career focus instead of trying to do it all.
I love that. And I love the idea that you don't have to, you might drop something now and then you could pick it up again in the future, or you might look at doing it in a different way. So at this present time, you may need to drop some things, but that doesn't mean that you have to drop them forever. But it's good to assess, like, do I need to be doing all these things? Do I need to be juggling all these balls? So yeah, I love that. I haven't heard that quote before, so I am going to, I'm going to keep that. Because yeah, that's good. I think I need to take that advice right now.
Yeah, I'm literally dropping things like a lot right now too. Like it's just not everything's going to get done. I don't know when baby's coming. Like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to do that anymore. And I wish I had that focus just regularly, not being pregnant, not, because right now I have this timeline. Like I need to get stuff done or drop it by a certain date, right?
Yeah.
And so I wish I thought more like that in like the day to day when you're like, is this important enough to do when you could be having a baby any day? Is this important enough to do while you're nursing your baby when they're 4 weeks old? Is that important or is it not? It just gives you that like real focus of what is important during that time.
Thank you so much. I am so honored, and I'm so appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. Considering
this is fun. I love talking about this. It's good timing too.
So if people want to find out more about you and about the membership site, Corporate Rescue Plan, or your other one, where should they go? And where can they find you online to hang out with you?
Yeah, so the best place is just to go to classycareergirl.com. That's where they can find all the information. We publish articles every week. We have a podcast as well. If they're interested in Corporate Rescue Plan specifically, they can add their name to the waitlist at corporaterescueplan.com. And you'll also get taken to like a little bonus that we have for you if you register for the waitlist as well. But yeah, come find me. We're all over Instagram and Facebook. And Pinterest as well. It's another one of my favorite things. I'm probably going to go pin some like baby nursery things after this. So.
Awesome. I love Pinterest. So we will put the links to all of that in the show notes so people can head over to lightboxcoaching.com to access the show notes. But it has been so amazing interviewing you. Thank you for joining us. And
thank you for having me.
Baby. And I look forward to virtually meeting her when she arrives.
You.
Thanks, Anna.
Bye.
Isn't she just lovely? Anna has been on an incredible journey, and I really appreciate her taking the time to speak to us, considering at the time of this recording, she was heavily pregnant. She's now had her daughter, who is absolutely gorgeous. But it was just great to hear her story and her journey, and hear how she was dedicated and how she and her husband worked together to realise their dream in terms of the lifestyle that they wanted to live, and how it didn't necessarily all work out straight away, but she took the steps that she needed to take and was consistent so that she could build a career that she loves post motherhood. If you would like to connect with Anna and learn more about her and all that she does, then I will be putting the links to her website in the show notes. So head over to lightboxcoaching.com/episode 53 and you can grab those show notes. So maternity leave was a catalyst for change for Anna. And what about you? If you are on maternity leave and you're thinking about what life should look like afterwards, then I want to invite you to check out the Smooth Return course. As I mentioned earlier, enrollment is going to be opening in a few weeks, but only for a short time. And so you must get on the VIP waitlist to find out more about this course. It's going to help you to work through what it is you actually want your career to look like. It's going to help you get clear on the steps that you need to take to make that a reality. And it's going to help you to make a smooth transition back to work. So whether that is back to the job you were doing before, or whether that is you transitioning into something new, the course will definitely be able to help you. So go and head to lightboxcoaching.com/VIP waitlist and put your name down. That brings me to the end of this episode. It has been awesome hanging out with you. If you're loving the show, then please head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review so that more ladies just like you can find and listen to this episode. Until next time, look after you and look after your babies. This podcast features music from Sound.